Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Democracy Report. Today is Monday, May 12th, 2025. I know last week was kind of scattered with shows. This week will be the same, just some family things going on and not enough time to get everything in. But we will be here when we can. This week. Definitely, there will not be a show on Friday. I will be out of town, so that will not happen. And the rest of the week, we'll just see how it goes. But anyway, for today, let me get out of the way before we get too far into it. Please like and subscribe. Visit us at Blue Sky. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/the Daily Democracy Report. But please do definitely hit a like there. That definitely does help a lot. So on today's show, I want to talk about a few things. One of the late breaking things I wanted to discuss and didn't really get any clips or anything for it is the tariff war, or whatever we want to call it, between China and the United States. So it looks like Trump has, or at least there were a lot of talks over the weekend between China and the United States, and have agreed to lower the tariffs for 90 days. So a 90-day pause in the huge tariffs that were there, and it's going to come down to 30% tariffs the United States is imposing on China, and then China will impose a 10% tariff on the United States. So that will hopefully lessen the damage that's already been done and is being done as we speak. There was a report from Seattle. The port there had like no ships there today. And I guess it was in Tacoma, I want to say. I think so. Anyway, I think the one in Tacoma had like one ship there today. So not a lot coming into ports from China or from that area. So it's definitely going to start hurting. I believe these tariffs, the lowering of these tariffs goes into effect. I wasn't even sure. I think it might be today or tomorrow. But we'll get some more facts on that. The terms of it, I'm not really too sure either about what I know that the tariffs are going down, but as far as all the rest of it, we'll cover more about that in another episode, another show. But I wanted to just throw that out there that is happening. So I guess that's maybe a good thing, but it still shows that there's a uncertainty, as far as businesses go. So for 90 days, we're not sure if that's going to go all the way back up again, if it's going to stay the same, if it's going to get lower. So that does cause a lot of uncertainty for businesses to try to determine, what that means, and can they start hiring people? Can they need to fire people? Should they be spending money or not? That's kind of the uncertainty in business with all that. So we'll see how this works out. Not sure if we got anything out of this or not. But we'll see. And also that does affect the markets today. Markets are looking really good. So that's a good sign, I guess, at least temporarily, until we see where all this goes. So that's about all. I think the president also had a press conference today about the lowering of prescription drug prices. We'll have more on that tomorrow once I kind of unpack that and see what that's all about. But other than that, on today's show, I want to talk about DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and Senator Chris Murphy clashing over. Specifically, what I want to talk about is the Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the Supreme Court ruling, and talk about that. And also Trump getting a jet from Qatar, or Qatar, as we're calling it. I'm not sure what the proper phrase for that country is. But anyway, so that's on today's show. So let's get into the meat of this. So this first clip here is the Director of Homeland Security, Secretary Kristi Noem, and her testifying before Congress. Have it queued up to this clash here. We're going to play this to the end. But pretty remarkable stuff here. So let's play the clip and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Have you read I assume you have read the Supreme Court decision in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia?
Yes.
That court decision requires the administration to facilitate Kilmar Abrego Garcia's release from El Salvador. Can you describe the steps that you have taken to facilitate this release? And specifically, can you answer as to whether you have reached out to your counterpart in El Salvador to facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's release?
Abrego Garcia is a citizen of El Salvador and should never have been in this country and will not be coming back to this country. There is no scenario where Abrego Garcia will be in the United States again. If he were to come back, we would immediately deport him again because he is a terrorist, he's a human smuggler, and he is a wife beater.
You've read the Supreme Court decision. Does the Supreme Court decision not require you to facilitate the return of Mr. Abrego Garcia?
The Trump administration is complying with all court orders and judges' orders.
Does the Supreme Court order require you to facilitate the return of Mr. Abrego Garcia?
Is a citizen of El Salvador. It is up to the president of the El Salvador.
So everything she's saying here is just dancing around the topic, right? I mean, she knows that what the Supreme Court ruling says, and she's like now defaulting to, oh, well, it's up to the president of El Salvador because Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an El Salvador citizen. So it's up to that guy to release him or something. That is not. So I guess the argument is probably, well, he said no, that he's not going to release him. So that's as far as we need to go as far as trying to get him out and facilitate his release. It's pretty weak.
Salvador to make the decision.
You're a defendant
on
in the
if he is
case.
coming back. It's been a big topic of conversation between all of us, between the country. When the president visited the United States of America, it was discussed and talked about there. The president has been very clear on this issue, as the Secretary of State and I have as well. Abrego Garcia is not a citizen of this country and is a dangerous individual who does not belong here.
I will not ask another question, Madam Chair. But the discussion,
we would immediately
but the discussion
deport him.
ends when the Supreme Court rules 9-0 that you have to facilitate his release. And the fact that you can't even acknowledge the wording of the order, which commands you to facilitate his release, and you advertise to this committee that you are going to willfully ignore the ruling. And that is incredibly
true,
chilling
Senator.
for the balance of powers in a democracy that relies on the executive branch to honor decisions made by the highest court of the land.
Yeah, he's completely correct. I mean, and this is going to go on and on. I mean, it's up to the Supreme Court at this point to rule on this again or something and say, hey, look, you guys haven't done anything. So I think it's down to a lower court right now, and then, to try to fact find and see if anything had been done. And then I guess that'll go back to the Supreme Court, hopefully. But this is just ridiculous. It's gone on this long. Just bring the guy back, give him some due process. If he is what they say he is, then ship him back. I don't understand why that's so difficult. But it just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. Terrible stuff. So let's move on. I will continue to talk about that case and the deportations because I think they're unlawful and something needs to be done. So we'll keep talking about it and hopefully something will happen as a result, but who knows? Next clip I want to show is about the Trump administration going to accept a luxury jet from Qatar, or Qatar, however you want to say it. This one's pretty crazy because this is completely not allowed. So we're going to talk about this and go through. We have two clips from this ABC News story on this. So let's.
Multiple sources familiar with the proposal say this is the airplane, a 13-year-old Boeing 747-8, known as a Flying Palace. It was toured by Trump himself back in February. The aircraft is larger and significantly more luxurious than the current Air Force One, an older version of the 747 that has been in operation since 1990. The Qatari plane has 2 fully furnished floors, complete with plush carpet, leather couches, and 2 bedrooms. The plane's current value is estimated at $400 million, but it will need millions more worth of modifications to meet the Air Force requirements to operate as the presidential aircraft.
Yeah, so that this aircraft, for one, and we're going to hear about this later, is that it's kind of like illegal for the president to accept a gift from a foreign country like this. It's not really allowed unless Congress approves it, which doubtful that Congress would approve something like this. But the other part of it is that if he uses this plane as Air Force One, as discussed, what they were talking about in that clip there, it's going to cost millions and tens of millions of dollars to retrofit this plane to carry the president. There's a lot that has to happen. And also, this country, how do you trust that there's not something they put on this plane, a small devices or something that can track the plane or listening? So everything in this plane would have to be gone through with a fine-tooth comb to ensure that there's no security problems with this plane. Because, Qatar is, I believe they are like, pals with Iran and Hamas, among others, that we don't currently like to deal with. So not sure exactly how that passes that test. And, if we're trying to save money, like Doge is cutting, budgets from a lot of different, parts of the government. And now we're going to spend more money on this, gift from Qatar that is going to need tens of millions of dollars in retrofitting and everything. Just doesn't make sense. And it's kind of ridiculous. So do have another clip here to play. This is along the same lines. So let's take a look at this clip here and then we'll talk about it some more.
Under the terms of the proposed gift, sources tell ABC, the plane would be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation no later than January 1st, 2029. That's shortly before Trump leaves office. The Constitution prohibits anyone holding federal office from accepting a personal gift from a foreign head of state. But sources say Attorney General Pam Bondi has concluded that this gift is, quote, legally permissible because the plane is not being given to an individual, but rather to the U.S. Air Force and then to Donald Trump's foundation. Democrats are calling the proposed gift illegal and are demanding an investigation. I don't know who needs to hear this, Senator Bernie Sanders posted on X, but no, Donald Trump cannot accept a $400 million flying palace from the royal family of Qatar. Not only is this farcically corrupt, it is blatantly unconstitutional. In response to the outcry, Trump confirmed he plans to accept the airplane, calling it, quote, a gift free of charge of a 747 aircraft to replace the 40-year-old Air Force One, temporarily in a very public and transparent transaction. In addition to the obvious ethical concerns, there are significant national security concerns about this, about using a plane given by a foreign government as Air Force One. Qatar is considered an American ally, but it is also an ally of Iran and China and even Hamas. The massive plane would need to be thoroughly vetted for listening devices and tracking devices that can be incredibly small and hidden just about anywhere on that massive aircraft. George?
Yeah, so pretty crazy, huh? So, so because, Pam Bondi's thing with, it's not being given to Donald Trump, the president, it's being given to the Air Force. So Donald Trump can use it, but then they're going to transfer it to his presidential library fund, whatever, so it can be his personal jet after the fact. So raises a couple things, right? Just out of the, the obvious ones is the retrofitting of it to be like Air Force One. Well, then after he's done being president and it gets transferred then to him personally, does that then have to be, more taxpayer dollars to take all that stuff out so it can be his private jet then So it's just ridiculous. And on top of all that, there is currently a contract program going on that's been going on for years now with Boeing to produce 2 new Air Force One aircraft. So these are currently being developed, being built at a price of $4.7 billion. That's with a B. $4.7 billion. Taxpayers are already paying for 2 new planes to be built. So it's crazy, because then adding to that, there also is a new hangar at Andrews Air Force Base that has to be constructed. That's going to cost about $250 million. So with a program cost of about $5.3 billion in total for 2 new jets, for 2 new Air Force One Boeing 747, I think, series jets that are being built, or whatever they're going to be. A VC-25B, I think, is what it's called. But anyway, these jets are being produced. So taxpayers are already paying for this. On top of that, if Trump gets this, if they allow Trump to get this jet to be a temporary Air Force One, because he just hates how old the current one is, that's going to cost the taxpayers even more money, tens of millions of dollars, on top of the $5.3 billion that's already been allocated for 2 new Air Force One jets. So it doesn't seem like we're really saving the taxpayers any money by doing any of this, with this gift. So hopefully this gift is, not allowed, and it doesn't happen, and Trump can just ride on the existing 747 that is the current Air Force One jet. Doesn't make sense. It's stupid. So hopefully this isn't allowed and this just goes away. So there you go. That is the news that I have for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. And I know this is a little shorter one today. So tomorrow, though, I hope to talk a little bit more about this China-U.S. tariff thing, and we'll try to get some answers to that, and the prescription drug plan, or the prescription drug costs, and see what that's all about. So anyway, until tomorrow, thanks again for watching. Take care, and be good to each other, and we'll talk to you all tomorrow, or whenever we do another one this week. Like I said, this week's going to be a little off. So thanks again. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.